Hi all, can you hear? Hi Pritam, hi Tarannuji, can you all hear? Is my voice clear? Okay, so many of you must have already heard about Sigmund Freud. So when I okay, hi Raj Pritam, you are saying yes, you can hear. Okay, so many of you must have read about hypnosis. In the movies also we have seen, and the pendulum, the famous concept, couch, sleeping on the couch, and making changes in the mind without even that person participating in the counseling and just sleeping, and hypnotist says something and that person's mind changes. So, what did you think when you saw such movie clips, or when you thought about such process? What did you think for the first time in your life? Try to share your opinions in the chat. So, this process, what people depict in movies as something like moving the pendulum and just giving hypnotic suggestions and changing the person. So there is a famous Telugu movie in that Patapiram Garu uses pendulum and changes the mind of a woman who is Sri Lakshmi, and she starts cooking. So before that, she never cooks at home, and her husband is frustrated, and she starts cooking after he gives hypnosis. But at the end of movie, Pattamra Garu has given the indication, notice, and saying that it's not really possible. So to give hypnotic suggestion to somebody and to change their mind when they are in sleep, unconscious state, so that's not actually possible. But in the movies, just hypnosis is shown as some process that involves magic, something like more like magic. But if it is not magic, what is hypnosis? And what is psychodynamic therapy? What is psychoanalytical therapy? So, if any of you know, please write here. Okay, Preetham is saying he's shocked. So, you must have studied psychology also. I think you can answer. So, hi, Vamsi. So, what is hypnosis? What is psychodynamic therapy? What is psychoanalytical therapy? And why am I talking about psychoanalytical therapy by in this video? This video I mentioned that I'm going to talk about Aaron T. Beck. But most of the people must have heard the name of Sigmund Freud, but not the name of Aaron T. Beck. But who is actually the backbone, the base, who created the base of psychology? I would say Aaron T. Beck, not Sigmund Freud. Why? Why? Because Sigmund Freud is the first one who started studying mind and understanding the patterns, and he gave some ideas. He wrote about subconscious mind, unconscious mind, all these ideas. He had done kind of a study, and he treated his patients and recorded all the episodes of therapy, and then he made some conclusions out of it, and he introduced the concepts of this ego, superego, it, these kind of concepts. But there are drawbacks in that kind of psychodynamic therapy, psychoanalytical therapy. So many drawbacks. Like there are limitations of that kind of therapy. And I'll start from there, because if I have to talk about what is the greatness of Aaron T. Beck, why this man is so great, why I am considering him as a backbone of psychology. To tell you all that, so first I'll start from the limitations of the psychodynamic therapy, psychoanalytical therapy. So, what are the limitations? So, first of all, in the layman language, I have to explain what is in the layman language. Hi, Renu. No, you are not late. Actual story starts here. So, in layman language, what is psychodynamic therapy? Let us take an example. So, imagine I have fights with my husband. So, my husband is trying to keep me away, and there is a gap, like we are not communicating properly, and we are not talking to each other. And he is trying to say things to me, like he's trying to humiliate. He's saying that you are a stupid, you are a dumb person. So, he's saying all that. Hi, hi, mom. So, he's saying all that. So, if that is the case, what would Sigmund Freud do if I go to Sigmund Freud? So, Sigmund Freud's theory, everything is around sexuality. That is one thing. And second point is about childhood. Sigmund Freud's theory is all about childhood and connections to the present. Now, if I go along with my husband to Sigmund Freud, what Sigmund Freud would say is, he will tell different things in different sessions. In the first session, he will tell me different thing, and in the second session, he will tell me different thing, and in each session he'll tell me different things and he will try what works. So if anything that is real, like for example he got the point, he gets the point, then it is a success case. Like if it is not the correct point, if it is not matching with my story, then he would call me again to the next session and he will tell me another interpretation, and again I'll go, again he'll give me another interpretation, again if that fails, again he'll call me to the next session and another interpretation. Now, I'll also give examples of what kind of interpretation Sigmund Freud would give. So, what he will say is, there is a possibility that there is lack of sexual attraction between you and your husband, because me and my husband are fighting. This is a problem. So he might say that there is no sexual attraction between you both. And one more, like if I am not saying that no, this is not right, I don't think it's working, so nothing, no change in my life. Next time when I go, he might say that maybe you are a homosexual. That's why there is no sexual attraction between you and your husband. And next time when I go, he might say that maybe it is possible that your mother is also homosexual and your grandmother is also, your family has homosexuals. Maybe it is possible that your mother being homosexual had created a kind of homosexual thoughts in you in the childhood. So your mother was attracted to you and you also got attracted to your mother. And because of which you become a homosexual, and after that you lost the capacity to sexually get attracted to a man. So this could be a theory that Sigmund Freud would formulate. Now, exactly this is not the theory. So here there is a disclaimer. So this is not exact real. This is not any real case. This is not even my story. So the disclaimer is, maybe this is absolutely wrong. This theory itself is absolutely wrong. It's not applicable to anybody. But to make it understand to every common person, I am trying to create a story that is understandable to every common person. So like that, so how this homosexuality got shaped in the childhood? Because my mother was a homosexual, I became homosexual, and because of which I am not able to get sexual attraction to my husband. This would be theory that Sigmund Freud would give me. And after that, like let us say for example, I applied that theory in my daily life and I tried to increase the sexual attraction towards my husband, and maybe I might fail. And after I fail, if I go to Sigmund Freud again, what he would do is he would make me lie down in a couch and he would make me go into hypnotic state. There he might give me suggestions or he might ask me to talk about bad experiences, like why I became homosexual or why I started hating men. Then he would come up with a theory, something, some other theory, and then he might make me cry. For example, a man tried to abuse me in the childhood. That's why I started becoming homosexual. This could be another theory. And of course, sexual abuse, Sigmund Freud denied in reality. But here, this is just example. Again, I am giving the disclaimer. This is just example to make everyone understand. So Sigmund Freud might give me a theory saying that somebody abused me in the childhood, and because of that trauma, I started hating men. Now, what Sigmund Freud would make me do is he might make me sleep and cry in the sleep. In the unconsciously, he would try to address the pain, trauma inside my mind. So that is called catharsis, and he might make me cry so much in the on the couch. So this would be the how this is how Sigmund Freud treats. And now here there are certain questions and certain limitations. So, is it all about sexuality in every case? Is it true that it's all about sexuality? So, if there is a fight between husband and wife, is it because of lack of sexual attraction? If there is a fight in the family, if there are problems in the family dynamics, is it all about attraction between father and daughter and son and mother? And is it all about fixation in the stages? So, is it all about sexuality? And is there anything beyond this? Okay, let us assume it's all about sexuality. Let us agree with Sigmund Freud. Now, imagine I am not an intellectual person who can understand all these terms, sexuality, homosexuality. So, imagine there is a psychotic patient, there is a person with delusions. So, delusional person imagines things which are not there and believes in them. Imagine I am a person who has delusions, schizophrenia, those kind of things. Now, when I go along with my husband to the Sigmund Freud, and when he says you got abused in the childhood and you are a homosexual, then I'll get 100 more doubts. So 100 more doubts about okay, who did this? Of course, Sigmund Freud would not tell all this to me because he will first of all disqualify me when he gets to know that I am a schizophrenic and I am a delusional person. He will disqualify and he will say that you are not fit for my therapy, get out. But even if he thinks that he can help me, even if he starts talking to me, then also what would happen? So you imagine I am mentally retarded, imagine I can't understand these terms, higher level terms, and imagine I can't understand about homosexuality. Imagine I am a person who has no intellect to connect. This is one part. And another part of the story is imagine I am a person with less resilience. Like when he's making me sleep on the couch and he's making me cry every week, or that this therapy is also intense, very intense, like 4 to 5 sessions in a week, or at least 3 sessions in a week. So he's making me cry at least 3 to 4 times on the couch. Then will I be able to take it? That is the next question. What if I lose my job because of all this, and I might fail in my life, and I might fail in getting at least food, money for food, all that. Those are the other practical drawbacks. And apart from this, there is a one more drawback, that some of the cases where, like for example, delusional, he will link up with the homosexuality. OCD, he might link up with the fixation. So these kind of things, they were not getting resolved. This is what people said. And some of the cases like hysteria, so hysteria is something like anxiety in the modern terms. In the olden days it was called as hysteria. So Sigmund Freud was able to deal with hysteria, and he could not deal with delusions. He could not deal with schizophrenia. He could not deal with people who are not that much resilient, who are not capable of crying. And he could not deal with the poor people who could not afford that much. So much high price, like 6 sessions, 4 sessions in a week. And only for rich people he was able to give counseling, but for other people he was not able to give because it was very expensive, it was very draining, and it was only limited to people who are highly intellectuals. And Sigmund Freud's analysis varies from person to person. He will talk about how childhood shapes, molds a person. So, to understand that, to correlate. So, here it happened. Here, a abuser did something to me. Here, my mother got attracted to me. Here, I am not getting attracted to my husband. To correlate these three things, that is called intellect. So, this intellect, persons who have high intellect, they can make use of psychoanalytical therapy. But, and what about the other people? So what happened was later there are some people who came up with theories which are less similar to this theory. Like they belong to the psychodynamic school, but they're not exactly like Sigmund Freud theories. So they stopped talking about sex. Next generation psychodynamic therapists, they stopped attributing everything to sex. They attributed to childhood development. For example, then next generation psychodynamic therapists, if I go to them, what they would say is, like they would have said, uh, Carl Jung, if he would have said that maybe it is because you felt inferiority in the childhood. Etler, he would have said you felt inferior, that's why you keep competing with your husband, and that's why you are not able to be close to him, not be intimate with him, because you keep competing. Whenever you both try to do something, you don't focus on the work. That's why you are not enjoying, that's why your relationship with your husband is not good, because you feel inferior when you compare yourself to him, something like this. But this inferiority, where is it coming from? It is coming from the childhood. That's what Adler would say. So, like this, other psychodynamic therapists started talking about different elements like inferiority, blah blah blah. But all these things were connected to childhood. So they saw a human being as puppet who is being controlled by threats. Then comes this man, hero. He is none other than Aaron T. Beck. So before him, there were people who talked about behavioral techniques. I'm not talking about behavioral techniques in this video. It will become too long if I also talk about behavioral techniques. Behavioral techniques are nothing like what you use with your dog, like conditioning, and you beat it if it overeats, and if it's not eating, give a chocolate, make it eat. So this is what is behavioral technique. And I'm not talking about behavioral techniques. But why Aaron T. Beck is the backbone of psychology? Why he is a hero? Because when he entered into this field, before that, there were so many bad opinions about psychology. People saw psychology as something that's more like philosophy, and people thought that psychology has no scientific basis. People thought that the people like Sigmund Freud and other therapists, they were, of course, they were great because initiating something and forming, understanding that there is some mind. Now for us, it's very easy to understand that there is mind. But imagine about those days. At that time, they were not even aware that there is something called mind. So that itself is great job. So we are not devaluating anybody. But the identity to psychology, this man is the identity to the psychology because when he entered into the field, but before him, there were people who only talked about assumptions, only about theories, only about interpretations, and sometimes their interpretations became true, sometimes interpretations become false, sometimes they lack evidence, sometimes they are perfectly right, like objective. So before that, it was more of uncertainty, and by luck some psychodynamic therapists used to get success. And even hypnotherapy, when people cooperate, then only the hypnotherapy works, not like in movies. So if hypnotherapy has to work, a person who is undergoing hypnotherapy has to completely cooperate. Now, after that generation, what happened is this Aaron T. Beck entered into the field. So he was a follower of psychodynamic theory, and he also practiced for many years. After that, he figured out that it's not all about sex, it's not all about childhood, it's also about now, present. It's also about cognitive patterns. And this term cognition got added. And now, of course, there is cognitive science, there is a field, new field, that's also studying how neurons work, how neurotransmitters work, and what happens in the brain, what happen, the chemicals in the brain, and their increase, decrease, all that are being recorded with the use of machines. And in the new generation, of course, there is also scientific evidence supporting the cognitive theories. For example, cognitive theory, according to that, imagine I'm interpreting or saying that this part of my brain is more active when I'm talking all this. Then I can go for a scan and I can go for MRI, all that. I don't know the names, I might be wrong. So when I go for these things, tests, then what happens is there will be more activity in this area. So more neurotransmitters, more electrons pumping, all that will be there. That can be detected with the eyes. We can see that, and of course, that's completely neuroscience. I'm not talking about neuroscience. I'm just giving introduction of that. And if we keep neuroscience aside, what Aaron T. Beck figured out is he saw patterns. He saw particular negative thoughts linked to problems. Like, for example, now I'll give examples of depression, anxiety, and again, same example. Previously, what I was talking about husband and wife relationship, and also I'll talk about diet, eating, and these are the four things I'm talking about. But for all the kinds of problems, there are solutions in CPT. And CBT can, good news is, CBT can be applied to people who have delusions, people who have schizophrenia, people who have severe problems, and people who are not capable of crying again and again, who feel exhausted quickly, who are very less capable, and who are not intellectuals, who are MR, mentally retarded, who are challenged, and all kinds of people can use CPT and get results. And use in the sense therapist can apply And one more good news is people can administer CBT on themselves, on their own. It's not like psychodynamic therapy. Only a person who is a therapist will sit in the chair and look at us in the we are lying down in the couch, and therapist will keep giving interpretations. But when it comes to CBT, there are workbooks, there are papers, there are worksheets. So this Beck have designed so many worksheets and books, and those can be administered on oneself. Like any person can buy a book and can apply on self and do the CBT for himself or herself. But of course, always it is better to have a companion in the journey, because companion will always be objective. But we are emotional beings, human beings are emotional. That's why it's always better to have a therapist. Not self work is not always fruitful, but CBT can be applied to anybody. Now, in the same example, previous example, I said I'm fighting with my husband. If I go to Beck, what he would do is he would ask me, so what are the thoughts that you are getting when you are fighting with your husband? So I would say that he expects too much from me. So he always keeps asking things. For example, these are the thoughts, and which I never told him. For example, so he will explore. Beck explores my thoughts, and then he would ask my husband, what are your thoughts? He would say that, okay, she's not cooking properly at home. She's not doing her duties. So, as a woman, she's supposed to cook. Let us say my husband gave these thoughts. He wrote on the paper, these are my thoughts. Now, what Beck would do is, he would use a technique called Socratic questioning. Socratic questioning is, Socrates used to question all the people. And in order, so Socratic methods are the basis of CBT. So Socrates introduced methods that can help us in finding out what is real, what is true, what has evidence, what doesn't have evidence. So what is rational, what is irrational. So how do we differentiate between rational thing and irrational thing? Just by questioning. So something that withstands questions, that is rational. Something that doesn't. So people keep saying that scientific things, scientific facts keep changing. So initially there was a different theory. Now there is a different theory. Now new planets got added to the list of the planets. Then why science is so much flexible? And whereas pseudoscience, like for example astrology, these are static and they don't change. Now there are many people who said that see this is science. So when I was taking the side of the science, so people challenged me by saying that see our astrology is so static, and it's not changing over a period of time, and it's so constant and reliable, and your science is not reliable because your science keeps changing. One day researchers come and they say that okay, we found out that these many planets are there. Another day they will come, they will say that we figured out that there is one more planet. Here what I answer them is, what I would say is, whatever changes, that is real, and whatever doesn't change, static, that is not real. Because now since we are exploring the universe, we are going to new areas which we never saw before. That's why we are able to add new planets to the list of the planets. But something static has lost its vigor. So maybe when that static thing got formed, when the time there was people who formed astrology, there was time when people wrote books on it. Maybe at that time it was very scientific. It's possible. But when they declare, the people who write astrology, they declare that nobody should question this. That is when this theory loses its validity. Theory loses its reliability. Theory loses its value when the person who creates theory will give a order to everybody that nobody should question my theory. So this is the end of the knowledge. This is the end of the wisdom, where it cannot be. So like that, Socrates used to question everything, everything. So he said, "I am the one who knows that I know nothing." So other people think that they know things, but they keep saying that I know this, but they don't question it. That's why I am the one who actually. So he even took death as something uh, neutral. He did not feel bad because he said, I don't know what is there after death. That's why I'm open to it. So, like that, something that's open and challengeable, questionable, that's more reliable. So, science is more reliable, challengeable, questionable. And even if other pseudosciences, if they now recently people started doing researches on those things, so maybe they will also become like science. They will also become more reliable. They will also become more valuable in the future, because when people start doing research and people start looking at these things in that perspective, like scientific literature, then maybe the other pseudosciences also might get their value. Now, here, now Socratic questioning. So this kind of questioning method Beck brought into psychology, and he integrated the principles of behavioral techniques and challenging questions, Socratic methods. And Beck started asking questions. Now he would ask me, why do you think your husband expects too much? Why do you feel that way? So now, and he will also ask my question, ask my husband the questions that, why do you think your wife have to cook every day? Why do you think your wife have to do the duties every day? Now we will think about it, and Beck will give us time, and then we can think about it, and then we might go and say that. Like I'll go and say after Beck asks me, why do you think your husband expects too much? Then I'll say that he expected that my husband asked me to cook on this Saturday. That's why I decided that he expects too much. Now this is called overgeneralization. Overgeneralization in the sense, one time my husband asked me to cook something, and I assumed that he would do the same thing on every day. So these are called cognitive errors. So Beck introduced these kind of errors. They are called cognitive errors and overgeneralization. Overgeneralization in the sense, it happens only one time, but we believe that it will happen every time. So, for example, my husband asked me only to cook on Saturday, but I started saying that he has too many expectations. Too many expectations. He asks me every day to cook. Now, if Beck actually asks me to count how many times my husband asked me to cook, then I would say that only one time. Then why? What made you think that your husband regularly asks you to cook? Okay, this was my overgeneration. This is a realization I would get at the end of second session. And when he asks my husband, why do you think your wife has to cook? My husband might say that, because I learned this is what society teaches, that women cook. Then Beck would challenge that. But what Beck would do is, what makes you think that only women have to cook? So this is something that you learn from the society. And do you think there is evidence to say that only women can cook? Why not men? Men also can cook. There are so many examples, great cooks, master chefs, men. So Beck would bring a list of people and show to my husband and change his belief, core belief. So he would correct my errors, and Beck would change the core beliefs of my husband. So because of one particular core belief that my wife has to cook every day, or my wife has to cook weekly because she's a woman, because of that one particular core belief, so he is actually fighting with me every day. So what Beck would do is, he will challenge the core beliefs that society implants on us, and people teach us, maybe our parents teach us, our teach us, and our friends teach us, movies teach us. So all these core beliefs Beck would challenge, and he will break those beliefs. Then what happens is, by the end of the second session or third session, I will start thinking about it, and I will feel like, okay, my husband asked me only one time, and I am overgeneralizing and catastrophizing in the sense, thinking about the worst possibility. And there is something called mind reading. So mind reading in the sense, my husband did not ask me anything. He just sat on the dining table, and I assumed that he is expecting food. So this is mind reading. He didn't say anything. Then how can I understand what is there in his mind? Am I any magician? Am I any somebody with paranormal power? No. So then how can I expect? How can I assume that he would ask me to cook when he's just sitting on the table? That doesn't mean anything. So when I thought that he is expecting, and I thought that he's asking me to cook, that means I am attributing a meaning to the act. Like when he's sitting like this, he's putting his hand like this. To this, I'm attributing a meaning. So, like this, we keep attributing meanings to things in many contexts. Like, for example, that girl smiled at me, that means she loves me. But maybe she smiled at you because you're ugly, or maybe she's not liking you, or maybe you wore something funny in the shirt, is something funny, or maybe she smiled at you because You were doing some joke and she heard it accidentally, or so there are n number of possibilities, and we have to explore all the possibilities. But in general, what happens is we all do that. We all attribute one particular meaning to one particular act. Whenever my husband comes and sit on the dining table, I'll attribute a meaning that he is expecting me to cook. So that is the attribution. So what Aaron T Beck would do is he would challenge my kind of reading pattern, this attribution of meanings, and my overgeneralization, my cognitive errors. What are the errors in my thinking pattern? And at the same time, what are the problems in my husband's belief? So, like if he has a belief that only woman has to cook, that's a core belief, and he learned it from the society. And Beck would challenge that belief. Now that belief is gone, these errors are gone. Now we'll become a happy couple. That's it. This is what CBT does. Now this is a in relationship context. This is just example, not any real story, not even my story or anyone's story, any of my client's story. This is just imaginary story. Now, let us talk about anxiety. What happens when people have anxiety? They do overgeneralization. They'll see threat everywhere. One time, some accident happened at one place. Maybe in the Gachibowli, there is an accident. And if I have anxious patient, I would see accidents everywhere. I'll think that if I go out, accident will happen. If I go on bike, oh my God, so many people who are going on bikes are dying. So this is how I will feel if I'm anxious. That is overgeneralization. And now, what Beck would do is he would ask me to see the list and statistics. How many accidents are happening in Hyderabad, and how likely that you will meet with the accident? What is a realistic and what is my imaginary thought, and what is a realistic thought? He would compare, and he would correct my thought errors. And when it comes to depression, I'm just giving one example, because if I completely explain what is CBT for anxiety, what is CBT for depression, if I explain, it will take like almost some hundreds of hours of videos. No, so I can't explain for that long. That's why I'm just keeping only one example from one area and just touching. But this is not the complete. So do not use this video to do therapy to yourself. No, don't apply on yourself whatever examples I give. But this is only for knowledge purpose, because if you apply, then you should learn complete theory, not from one examples. You should not learn and apply on yourself. So I'm just giving one example from one case. So depression. So in depression, what happens is a person who is depressed. What are the kinds of cognitive errors in that person? So that person will be like minimizing, maximizing, maximizing the negatives, minimizing the positives. He achieved something. He got first rank. He will forget that. He will ignore that, and he got rejected in two interviews. He will remember that. So like that. These are the cognitive errors, and this generalization also can happen. And personalization is something that happens in case of depressed people. So what they do is, when there is a failure, like COVID cases are there, and everywhere people lost their jobs, and a person with depression would apply that to self. Okay, I am bad, I am unlucky, that's why everybody is losing jobs. I also lost job, I am very unlucky. So like this, what depressed people do is they'll attribute everything to themselves. This is called personalization. So these are different kinds of errors. So now, when it comes to eating disorders, like those are not able to maintain a diet plan, those are not able to do exercise on a regular basis. There will be thoughts and beliefs that will stop them. Like, for example, what is the point in doing? I am doing from 1 week, but nothing is happening. So let me stop. These are the negative thoughts. What Beck would do is he will capture these thoughts. Capture in the sense, he will ask the client to observe, figure out what are the automatic thoughts that are generating in the mind, and write down. And after writing, and Beck would challenge these thoughts. So is it real that there is no progress? Is it true that you're worrying about future and progress, and you tried for 1 week and it didn't help, and you are worried about that? And but do you think this is enough, this time is enough? So maybe 1 week is not enough to see if it works or not. Maybe you should do it for 1 month, or maybe when you're doing for 1 week, are there any problems in this? Are you able to achieve your goal? What is stopping you? What are the obstacles? and what are the negative thoughts that are making you quit what the attempts that you're doing, you're quitting in the. So what are these things he will try to explore. So there are different books also. Anyone who is interested in doing therapy on themselves, like applying CBT on their own, they can use these books. Like for example, you can write and order from the Beck Institute directly. From abroad they will come, or maybe in the Amazon, Flipkart. So if you directly get it from the institute, you will get package set of all the books, and one book for one kind of disorder, and you can get a whole set from the institute, or maybe you can buy in the online, the Amazon, Flipkart. You can search each book and you can buy. So these books, what they will do is they will help you in administering CBT on yourself, and also these books help therapists to learn about how to apply on the clients. And anyways, if we keep those books aside, so cognitive patterns and emotions linked to cognition. So now if thoughts change, emotions will change. So that is the theory. CBT says that there is an event and there is a meaning that you attribute to that particular event. For example, something happened, some glass broke, and I felt like, oh my god, something wrong is going to happen. That is a meaning that I'm attributing to the glass, to the breaking of the glass. So that's not original meaning. Is there any evidence to actually say that there's something wrong will happen if glass breaks? And in how many houses where glasses break, there is something happening, and then nothing is happening in some of the houses, which is real, which is true. And what is the objective truth? So CBT is all about finding the truths. So there are irrational beliefs. There are beliefs that we learn from the TV, we learn from the movies, we learn from parents, we learn from teachers, we learn from society. So cognitive CBT is about challenging all the beliefs and changing the thought patterns and changing the. As I said, it can be used by schizophrenic patients, because like John Nash is the example. John Nash, what he did is CBT only. So, if anybody wants, they can watch this Beautiful Mind movie. In that movie, this John Nash is a real scientist who invented something, got Nobel Prize in the physics. So, he is a schizophrenic guy. But how did he manage to do all that? How did he become so great? That's because he applied CBT to himself. CBT is, he challenged the hallucinations. This guy. So what John Nash did is, he used to say, like, in the from the movie I'm talking, because you all will watch movie. I really didn't interact with John Nash, so I can't talk based on the his real life story. So I don't know what he experienced. I don't know what he underwent, and I didn't even read anything. So I'm just based on the movie I'm talking, just to explain you all about CBT, but not to comment on John Nash's life. So that's not my intention. So maybe this data might be wrong. Whatever I'm talking about, this can be wrong. So in the movie, it is shown that he sees a girl. So every time that girl comes and talks to him, so what he does is he challenges his hallucination, and he always observes. He gets a thought suddenly that if this girl is real, why is she not becoming older? Like, I saw the same girl 5 years back, again I'm seeing the same girl 2 years back, again I saw the same girl 1 year back, I'm seeing the same girl now. So this is how John Nash got he applied a CBT on himself, and he figured out a way to actually deal with it without medicines and without anything. He figured out a way, and he dealt with hallucinations by challenging them, whether they are not real or not. For because for a person like you or me or anybody who doesn't see hallucinations, hallucinations will be like something so strange. It's madness. But somebody who sees hallucinations, for example, I am seeing somebody here, then it's so real for me. It's not possible to differentiate between reality and something that doesn't exist. But for a normal person, it's very easy. So it's not a challenge, it's not a question. But for a person with hallucinations, delusions, it's a big challenge to it's a big challenge to identify what is real and what is not. And CBT trains people in identifying what is truth. CBT trains people in understanding what is rational, what is not rational. And CBT is completely scientific. That's why CBT takes the facts from science, and also does research. Like CBT people do research, and they see if their method is working on people. And researchers have shown that CBT gives results in all the cases: anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, delusions, eating disorders. There is no case, the OCD. There is no particular disorder that cannot be dealt by using CBT. So this is because CBT is research based, like it uses researchers, and CBT itself involves researchers, and they administer on people. They do researches and figure out if it's working or not, and if it's not working they will try to improve the method. And I read recently that before even dying, so Aaron T Beck, he died at age of 100 on the last week. But here something interesting is he was even doing research just before death. He was participating in the in his institute along with his daughter, and he was conducting researches, and he was very active even just before death. Also, he was very active, and he was recently doing a research on schizophrenia. A project was running, and so he is such a great man who completely gave identity, that is scientific identity, to the psychology. Because before him, psychology was more like philosophy, more like magic, more like hypnotism, more of hypnotism and interpretations. There's no scientific base, and results are not like certain. Like in all cases, the clients were not getting results, and it was an expensive and costly affair going for therapy. And after he started his work and he introduced CPT, now, there are many people who are taking help of psychology, especially in the abroad countries, if not in India. Of course, in India, there is so much of stigma, and in abroad, there are so many people who are getting benefited, and even including schizophrenics and delusional people, everybody is getting help. And this cognitive field also emerged, and that also started supporting CBT, and CBT started supporting cognitive theories. So, brain scans, images, MRIs, split brain experiments. So this psychology got transformed into science after Beck introduced this rationality concept into the psychology. And so here he's a very great man. I'm grieving because he died from last week. So I feel so sad that he's no more. And I'm dedicating this video to him, and this is my small effort to show respect to him. Of course, he's so great that nothing can actually explain about his greatness. This video is not enough to talk about him, but this is my small token of respect, small token of gratitude, and small token of this kind of appreciation. So I want to dedicate this to him, and thank you everybody for participating and listening to the video and getting to know. And if you also wants to you also wants to show that same respect, and you can spread this message. So you can tell to your friends and your people. And psychology is not what you think. Previously it was all about pendulum, and it's like magic, but now it's not, it's a science. So go and explain your friends that what is a new form of psychology, and what is a modern form of course, even more modern theories, humanistic theories, existential theories are there. But I'm only talking about CBT because it's research based, evidence based, and it's applicable. Like even humanistic theories cannot help people with psychotic episodes, people with OCD, people with depression, anxiety, and only CBT is something that can help a wide range of people. So spread this message and talk about Aaron T. Beck. So that's what I want you all to do if you like the video and if you like the concept. And I'll stop here. Any more questions anybody has, they can post here and write in the comments. Also, after video ends, I'll be making new video, other video based on the questions, if questions are very interesting, and if I feel that your question needs a your question is something that's interesting and helpful to people, and if I answer that question in the live session, and if that can help people, I'll address in a live session your questions. You can post any kind of questions in the comments, and I'll answer only questions that actually help people, Like for example, if you ask about your personal problem in a comment, I'll not answer. I'll not talk about your personal problem in a live video. But if you ask a general question that can help people in getting awareness, mental health, which can contribute to the mental health field, then I'll definitely address your question in a live video. Why I won't talk about your personal life in a live video? Because that's not how therapy works, counseling works. Counseling needs a private setting. So informative session, yes. If anybody is ready for that, I'm fine. Like for example, there is somebody who wants to discuss about public personal issue, then also that's fine. I'll do it in a live session. But they should be completely ready. Like we can demonstrate a complete counseling session. But what happens is people ask question. Then after that, if I ask two more questions in a live session, they will go back. Like they will take a step back. So then it won't help other people. Moreover, they're not giving the complete picture in a live session. That's why within a question you can't give complete picture. But there is someone who really wants to talk about their personal problems. They wants to give messages to people through their own personal life. They want to share their own experiences, personal life experiences. Then they can join me in the video. We can do direct counseling session online. So we both can sit and we can demonstrate a counseling session. That's wonderful. So that's a great job. And if anybody wants to do that, but just asking a question and taking a step back and expecting that I'll completely talk about the problem in complete live session, that's not going to work. That's neither benefiting you nor benefiting other people. That's it. And any other questions? Anything? Pritham is saying, great job, wonderful, thank you. And Rena is saying, yeah, I saw your message. And Anna is saying, abracadabra. Okay, abracadabra, bye all. And I'll stop here. No, no abracadabra, only CBT, only questioning, Socratic questioning. So I'll stop here. Bye.